Yo, what up? It is the 5th of September 2024. It is currently 10:54 p.m. on a Thursday. And we're going straight to the store. As is almost a form of tradition at this point. I was hoping we could see some rain at some point, because now that August has ended, I guess I would assume it would put us out of the dry season. Let's see, what is this? Sailor's hat. I don't think I need that. I don't actually have the spreadsheet open. No. I mean, well, yes. I already have it, basically. And all those other things. My nose is a bit itchy today. I guess it was yesterday. Oh, we have a super sale. Everything's half price. What a bargain. I can get this medicine for half price. I know that because, see, there's like a rewards system in this game in the store where the more you buy, you get like points. I'm in like, so obviously I'm platinum, like, you know, because of course I'd be. So I forget how much discount that gives you, but combined with the super sale, that's like a pretty big deal. Not that it usually matters. If you're here, it means you haven't been getting enough exercise, right? Let me ask you this then. How fast can you catch a grasshopper? I'd have to wait at least 12 hours. Alright now. Guess I'll go with someone else then. Okay. They'll have to wait 12 hours as well, mind you. It's actually like the minimum amount of time. You know, I had the August in review the other day. One thing I didn't mention that it was that I did these the paths last month. That was a pretty big change. It was pretty. That's one of my favorite things I've done with this town this year, I'd say, because it does look very nice. I think. September's a good month. I like September. It does. I have that association with it being a month where we usually go on a yearly holiday. So it's nice. It's a nice month. Plus, there's just something about it that makes it feel like it's the end of the year. Like, August is like, you know, it's still in that spot where it's like the year is still going, whereas September, I don't know, it feels like it's the beginning of the end, which, I don't know, something about that feels comforting, I guess. It made Cube nice and better. I guess, well, what? Past August is like 2/3 of the year is out by that point, right? Like, it's a pretty big thing. When September ends, it'll be 3/4. 3/4 of the whole year. Oh, snake. And I think my semester basically ends by the end of October. Like, I only have one thing, I think, right at the beginning of November, and then other than that, I'm done. So, yeah. Hey, you like this shirt? I think Knife is the designer. Not too shabby, huh? Not that I know anything about clothes, but still, not shabby. Right. Yeah, like September and October are like, yeah, basically the last 2 months I have of the semester, and then I'm on break, and then I have one final year, which I guess I'll have to tackle without this out. I probably won't continue this series the next year. I'll still play this game every day, but it's certainly been a thing. You know Snake and Pom Pom? What do you think is up with them? I don't know, man. Pom Pom moved in literally yesterday. They're probably friends. Really? You think they're just friends? Well, that's boring. It's probably true. Yeah, it's I like doing this, but it certainly adds. It's just it's a thing that gets added on to the day. When sometimes you just sort of wanna. I don't know. It's certainly like a commitment. Like it isn't like doing your waddle for the day where you get it done in like 5 minutes. This is like, you know, 10 to 20 minutes, and then also having to like do the thumbnails. And I'm not like complaining or anything, although it certainly sounded like it. But I guess I'm just I don't know. I guess I am complaining. But I mean, it's self-imposed. It's not like I'm doing this out of any obligation. In theory, I could stop whenever I want, but there's a sort of perfectionist part of me that I think refuses to. But I want to see it through to the end. I'm not saying, like, if I could quit, I would, which I can quit, so I'm already proving that point. Spoon, I have a huge favor to ask. Would you deliver this to Marina, please? I have some leeway, so if you can do it within 1 hour, it's all good. I think a catchphrase might be rah rah as like a cheerleading thing, because her name's Pom Pom. So like the cheerleaders have pom poms and they go rah rah like a chant or something. It's weird theming. It certainly explain her peppiness, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. September just has that like vibe to me of like, because by November, like, yeah, in the end, like December is like an encore of sorts, or at the very least, it's like, I don't know. At least that's my association. I mean, things change, schedules are different. Some people's years never really end, or some people's years end in completely different places. In the sense that a year isn't really defined by like the 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 number, the date on the wall. It's more so like what is happening in your life. Like really, it's things don't usually just line up as in such a way that it's like one thing happens per year. Like it's not like problems that are in one year don't follow along in the next. And I think that concept was kind of solidified to a lot of people during COVID, or at least it's something that people had to come to terms with. Was just because 2020 ended didn't mean that all of the problems of 2020 didn't end. They sort of kept going, and then it's we're sort of in a state, and this is kind of just a thing that's society has been like forever now, of problems crop up here and there, and then rather than dramatically coming to a closure, they just sort of like fizzle into something that we eventually just kind of forget entirely, and then it's like a thing we look back on. Like nowadays, COVID's like, it's a passing memory to most people, even though, it's still around in a sense. But, now we look. But, like, if you remember those, a couple of years after, even. By the beginning of this year, it was kind of not a thing anymore. But, like, there was. Just in general, there were, like, outbreaks cropping back up and going back down, new vaccines and stuff like that. It wasn't like a clean end. It just sort of like diminished, and that's just how I feel like that's how it always is with stuff like this. And like the problems still exist. It's just that people don't put focus on them anymore because they're not the topic of the week anymore. Oh, cool. Is this a present from Pom Pom? Wow, this is great. And you're even on time and everything. I wonder what's in it. Well, looky here. It's a racer shirt. Huh. I guess it's not too bad. Yeah, I think this will do. I don't think Marina has liked a single thing that anyone has ever gotten her. She always just feigns like that she likes it when she clearly doesn't. Oh no, Peewee was trying to move out. Speaking of problems, my problem is the fact that Peewee was trying to move out. Yeah, there's definitely the a very prevailing like fatigue that people have nowadays with how many things just happen. There's like a new, you know, there's a, we're living in like a monster of the week, like, Scooby Doo show, except it's like real and all of the problems actually suck. And I think, like, definitely the advent of social media, like, things being able to be shared so easily, like, it means that things spread way easier, and things that are, I don't know, just, like, not true, or just false, like, manipulative, or just, like, I don't know, anything can just get by. Like, I saw okay, please reconsidering. I saw a news thing the other day of, like, a woman getting, it said, like, a woman gets mauled by tiger at a zoo. And then you go, you watch the actual report, and it's the woman, described in the title, was actually a senior, like, trainer, like tamer. And the mauling was a bite. Granted, it was a deep and bad bite, but still, it was a bite. And yet, the title makes it sound like, when you hear that title, like, I'd say most people get the impression of, like, oh, she, like, this woman, like, this, random innocent woman who, you know, a victim of this horrible zoo or whatever, fell into a tiger cage and got mauled by tigers. It's like, no, it's a person who trains tigers, whose career is being around tigers, getting bitten by a tiger. Like, everything gets insanely sensationalized and I guess, I don't know, delegitimized. It feels like, even if the real story itself is bad, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel that way because, it's been presented in such a manipulative way. Are you putting a little chub on? You blew off my training regimen, didn't you? What training? Well, the training that, okay, now I got all confused and forgot what I was saying. Thanks a ton. Damn, it's really hard to not make him pissed at me. But yeah, I do feel bad for that woman, mind you. I'm not saying, like, oh, she's faking it or anything, because no, it's not her fault. But the fact that that's how it's presented, and yeah, I don't know. There is that idea that people have that it's like, oh, it's the world's turn for the worst. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. Was that a tarantula that I just ran over? Oh, must have gone away. I don't necessarily agree with it just because I think it's more so that these sorts of things just have kind of continuously happened, and it's people's awareness of issues that have grown over time rather than the issues themselves having grown. Like, financial crises. I feel like people are way more aware of those nowadays, but that's not because that financial crises have only started happening now. They've been happening throughout all of human history, and now it's just people either, are more aware because they're getting to the age where that actually affects them, or because it's starting to affect things that, like, in a wider or, like, just larger scale in general. Or better yet, it's stuff that people notice, but nobody really talks about until everyone else starts talking about it, and then it becomes normalized as a thing. I think it's sort of worthwhile to take a step back and sort of, there's an amount of there's a definitely, like, you can have complacency, right? You could say, like, oh, the world's just the way it is, and that is a perspective you can take, and it's kind of hard to argue with it at times, but at the same time, it sort of makes you a bit, I don't know, almost robotic. The same way that you sort of could robotically just oppose anything by any quote unquote system, you could also just robotically let it all wash over you and not care. But, there is some truth in the fact that if you just spend so much time, like, you know, trying to work against the quote unquote system, that you sort of just fatigue yourself through the monotony. It's the same battles over and over again of problems that sort of just prevail, and then, like I said earlier, just sort of diminish and they fizzle out, and either people stop caring or they end in a way that still benefits the party that were the perpetrator of it in the first place. Yeah, so many like cases of like companies like, and they did something very pretty deplorable because that's what companies do, and then everyone thinks, oh, this is going to end horribly for them, and then it just like doesn't, and everything just goes back to how it was before, and it's just like, okay, so what? Okay, it's just nothing. It just stops being a thing, and it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of a tiring cycle. So this outfit was created by a new designer. I think it looks awesome, don't you? Uh, oh, that's my design, I think, actually. That's pretty cool. Yeah, journalism's kind of not fun to follow at all. I mean, a couple of years ago, oh, U.S. politics was so fun. It was so funny. I mean, you know what? They still are pretty funny, but like, I don't know. At the very least, you could get some. There's things where you can derive some humor from it, but then after a certain point, it just gets like too. I don't know. But I'm not a big like, rally against the system. I don't know. I feel sometimes I'm a bit of like a centrist, like I'm too in the middle on a lot of things, but I don't know. It's just hard for me to not be. I'm not good at taking sides primarily because I never want to. Well, I think one major thing is I never want to feel like I'm wrong, and that's not something that's unfamiliar to the human race. The idea that, like, if you don't try, you don't lose either. I don't know, but I think just sometimes people. Sure, in my case, I feel like I am way too quick to just not really take a side. There are also people that are way too quick to just take a side and stick with it no matter what. And I think that's kind of an unhealthy mindset that people have, where it's like, well, people get so deluded in the side that they're on that they forget what their ideals even are supposed to be in the first place. I don't know. Like, people are very extreme, and I think that's like, I don't know. Maybe that's something that's just always existed as well. Like, I don't know. Are any of these problems new? I don't think any problem in human history is fully new. At some point, they all boil down to things that have probably happened, hundreds of years ago. I mean, who knows? It's all a lot easier in retrospect, I guess. Let's see. Did I end up getting everything done? I didn't report back to Pom Pom. Why didn't I do that? That would have been a nice way to wrap up, but I have to go and do my due diligence. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like treading over people's toes. I'm very, and I guess I'm kind of out of the way. And I don't know. I personally don't mind being like that. But, I think at a certain point you can draw a line in the sand, and perhaps instead of standing on either side of that line, just sort of stand on the line and realize that, somewhere up the line on certain things, there are just situations where both sides are wrong. And sure, there are things where one is definitely the prevailing, superior side either way. I don't know. Does that mean it's worth to support the less bad side? Like, I feel like that's another big thing. So many things now are a battle between. There's a bug. Oh. So many things now are a battle between not picking what's right and it's rather picking what's less bad, especially with the U.S. election, which obviously doesn't apply to me, but still, it's people have talked about it to death at this point. Like, I mean, obviously Biden's dropped out now, but still, it's been that battle of, well, both of these candidates kind of suck, at least from where I'm sitting. So, like, what? You just pick the one that you think will do less bad. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's just inevitable with politics, where politics in general just are bad. Like, it's hard to be a good politician. There are some even fundamental principles that you must have to be a politician that are just sort of inherently bad things. Good job, way to go. How was Marina's reaction? It was alright. Huh, that's weird. I was totally sure that was going to be, incredibly appreciated. Oh wait, of course, you did help me after all. I gotta thank you. You got a plush carpet. Oh, thanks. There's a mosquito flying at me. I don't think there's a grasshoppers bouncing around. I think those are crickets. Yeah, I guess that's going to be it for today. I went on my little spiel about who knows what. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today.